Hey friends, are you done with dating apps? Tired of swiping through profiles and superficial chats that go nowhere? Well, swipe left on those boring rituals. Introducing Done with Dating, the free podcast driven dating platform that's bringing human interaction back. We sit down with incredible singles for real conversations on our weekly podcast. Listeners like you get to know them deeply, then apply to date a guest or step into the mic yourself. Plus, we'll regularly host experts that discuss the dating world and provide advice on self-improvement techniques when you are taking a break from dating and focusing on yourself. Made for the bold, built for connection, your dating journey redefined through the mic. Head to donewithdating.co right now and apply. It's free. Your perfect match is one episode away. Hi, everybody. Today we have on Victoria Steward. She's a financial empowerment coach for women in corporate looking to exit their careers. Victoria, thanks so much for coming on today.
It's my pleasure. I'm really looking forward to it.
Awesome. And I really like your podcast. We'll talk about that at the end, is where people can find you. But
Okay.
I've listened to about 4 or 5 episodes already, and it's just really an easy listen, and then also good advice for people who are listening. So thanks very much for pointing me to your podcast. It's awesome.
It's my pleasure.
Would you mind just starting off with your elevator pitch, just letting people know about yourself and what you do, please?
Yeah. So, like you said, I'm a financial empowerment coach. And to me, that means really changing a person's relationship to money. Because a lot of us have very funny stories about what money means. Do we have any power? How much you're supposed to want or have or not want it and not have it. So from my perspective, it's how can you be in a safe place with your money so that you have the freedom to make decisions around what you actually want in life? And with our society being what it is, you need money up to a certain point. And usually you hear you need more, always more, always more. And at the same time, it's bad to want it, right? And so it's kind of like changing that relationship with it so that you're not like feeling guilty or shameful for wanting it, and being clear what you want it for. Is it just for living your life? Because then you potentially don't need as much as you think you do. Is it because you want to donate money to all sorts of places, or you want to be able to fund other people's businesses, or it's because you don't want to work anymore. So you want to save enough so that, hey, basically you're retiring early, right? Like, what is it that is really true to you? And so you could do that from the starting point of your finances of money, rather than potentially, like, if you're in a relationship coach, right? You're starting with the entry point of romantic relationships or familial relationships or something like that. The starting point here is money, just because it was a really big stressor in my life for a really long time. So,
Yeah, and I was going to ask you about that because you had a really incredible career, very technical job, right? You left a stable 20-year
yeah,
Navy engineering career on a gut feeling with over 100,000 in savings, right? But
yeah,
that was your source of anxiety. So
yeah.
what was the exact moment or series of moments when you knew staying was no longer an option, even though the math looked okay?
I it it was a lot of things, and probably like a lot of people that have shifted things in their life. Like COVID was the thing that kind of opened my eyes a little bit, because we were sent home. I was taking a 2-hour lunch break to work out, walk the dog, make myself a really good lunch. And then, like, I still wasn't sleeping well. I was having a bottle practically of wine like every 2 days. Like, I'll just have a glass of wine. I'm home. Like, what's the big deal? Right? Like, it was just weird. And then I was like, well, this stuff isn't working. So I went vegan, because I was like, well, that could maybe reset and help with my hormones or help with the stress. That didn't really do anything. Meditation helped a little bit. I started sleeping a little better, and it definitely reduced the stress. I think the like thing that I was like, wow, this is really working. I was like, there was no glass of wine at the end of the day. It just stopped. I was like, how weird. but nothing really drastically shifted. I have a tendency to be looking for a silver bullet when I try things like it's going to magically change my life. And usually it's just like a little incremental change. So it's making changes and it's in the positive direction, but it's not like, wow, now I feel like I did when I was 20. Shucks, that didn't work. um, but then it was like, okay, this is weird. I'm taking such good care of myself. Nothing's really changed. And then we were sent back to the office without really, it didn't feel like any consideration of who did better work at home, who had kids that didn't have any daycare, after school care planned because they've been home for a year. It was all this lip service to we care about our people without actual caring about our people. It was kind of performative. And I think that and the fact that I just kept going to the doctor and getting blood tests and being like, what's going on? Everything is normal. Everything is fine. And I'm like, everything is not fine. And I think because I'd been pushing away all of my feelings about things and just, nope, I'm a high performer. I will get the job done. I will get everybody's job done because it needs to be done. that, that like, I almost couldn't figure, like, I literally didn't know what I wanted to do next. I just, like, after what, a year and a half of meditating, doing a 6-month meditation mastermind, I was like, the only thing I know is the next right step is to go. And so I was like, all right, I'll make this safe. I'll sell my house. I have all this money in savings. I'll move in with my parents, even though that's horribly embarrassing. And, but I had the flexibility to do that, right? I'm
Right.
single. I don't have kids. I only have a dog and 2 cats, right? Like it made it so that I was fortunate enough that I could just take that leap. And curiously, because I didn't have clarity on what actually my life cost me, having all that money in the bank didn't make a difference. I was still like, what is going on? What's happening?
It makes sense. I mean, I always think about retirement, and I feel like I'm going to be in pretty good shape. I've got a kind of federal retirement coming if it
Mhm.
still exists by the time I retire. But um, but I worry about that all the time, and it's like
Uh-huh.
I'm not sure what dollar amount I'm going to be comfortable with is going to be enough. And also, I love to work, so like I'm not,
Yeah.
not sure if I'll just be able to go to the gym a couple times a day and do some other stuff. But
Just
um,
podcast.
yeah, so I wanted to go back to what you were talking about with
Mhm.
work too before you decide to leave. You talk about in some of the solo episodes that you had
Yep.
that feeling of feeling hollow inside. And
Yeah.
so if someone were a coworker or a boss was looking at you, they'd be like, she's got her stuff together. She takes care of sometimes other people's work. But then you felt hollow inside, right? And so what was that first practical or energetic shift that started moving you out of that exhaustion? You talked about meditation.
Luckily,
I guess you
not
talked about
medication.
wine. That might be medication, right? But yeah, but meditation, you talked about,
Mhm.
and then in your episode, you talked about Reiki as well.
Yeah.
Is that what kind of made that shift?
No, I didn't find Reiki until after I left when I was just like, I don't know what I'm going to do next. Let me just follow my curiosity and learn about some random stuff. Um, But I think, like, the very first shift, like, which actually led me to finding meditation or finding my meditation teacher that allowed me to finally start meditating, because 'cause I'd been wanting to do it forever, and all the mindfulness apps, I was like, "I can't do this. This is" like, my brain goes off into, like, la la land, making up all sorts of stuff or making lists or whatever it is that it's doing, was actually listening to podcasts because
Oh,
I was like, I had a very I found out that, hey, on the phone, there's this that's what that little symbol is where you get to listen to people talk about stuff. I'm like, how crazy. But it opened up I think my mind to other possibilities, like, I think it just like started to unlock that curiosity of how do you look after yourself better? Like, what are the different things people do, right? Like, I never heard of a life coach or like maybe an executive coach because sometimes you get offered that in your job. But like, I think that was the thing that I was like, oh, well, that person was interesting. Let me see if they have any other podcast episodes somewhere. Right? Like, and then you'd like follow the breadcrumbs, and the
Hmm.
breadcrumbs led me to Emily Fletcher and her meditation. And then I continued listening, and then it just continued. And that it's one of Emily's teachings is actually she calls it charm, like following charm, because you're trying to bring interest and pleasure back into your life, which is something most of us don't take time to do. And I think like the taking this quiet time of meditation gives your brain space, your body space to feel things, to be like, wow, this really is out of alignment with me. I don't want to be living my life like this anymore. Where if you don't take the time to sit and be still and be quiet, how are you ever going to know? So it was like the podcasts that opened up my mind to like other possibilities because I'd been so focused on being the best at my job, being really good family member. Forget about dating, but like being really good about like being a good friend, a good sister, daughter, dog and cat mom, and really great at my job. And that was kind of this little box that I had built around myself. And like the podcasts opened it up, and then the meditation opened it up even more, enough for me to start to trust myself that, hey, this feeling isn't changing. No matter what else I'm changing, this feeling that this is just not right anymore isn't shifting.
But at the same time, you were able to reassure yourself because of the things that you were doing.
Yeah.
And that was
Mhm.
what you found to be really important in terms of the mind body piece,
Yes.
the combination of listening to podcasts, almost virtually interacting with someone through their messages to you and their
Hmm.
guests. And then also the meditation and what you were doing for your body, and then also the idea of, okay, that's not going away. So it sounds
Yeah.
like you have to have that type of a combination to keep trying things that are working until you get comfortable with the idea that, okay, this one constant is the problem,
Yeah.
right?
Well, and you're giving yourself space to like figure out what is really true for you, right? Like we have so many inputs in our lives all the time as now. And it's like you could be reacting to something else that's coming through. But if it stays consistent as you start to quiet the rest of it, then you can start to trust your own intuition, your own knowing. Okay, this piece is the piece that likely needs to change.
So as far as the guidance that you give to other people, you help corporate women figure out their true runway number. I saw that on your
Mhm.
website, right? And use a profit for keeps framework.
I do.
So, what are those most common financial blind spots or money myths that you see that maybe commonalities that they have, which maybe makes them feel unsafe to pivot, even when the spreadsheets say they're ready?
Right. It's sometimes it's not looking at the specifics, right? It's like sometimes it's really just the clarity of knowing what it is you need every month to live. And then spending a little time of like, how much time do I want to give myself before I need to do something else? Right? A lot of people have a plan. They've already started a side hustle. They know that they want to go back to school. But if you're in a place like I was where you're just like, I just got to go and I need to give myself a break and be like, okay, I want to give myself 12 months. Maybe you want to take a really big trip in that window. So like once you know what your like burn rate is for per month, you can add on the other things that maybe you know you need to kind of reset yourself before you move forward or to get the MBA if that's something that really lights you up. Or if you really want to pivot into another direction, you could get a different, like a master's degree. Like that's what I thought I was going to do, is get another master's degree or a PhD or something. I was like, oh, I'll go into like environmental something or other, like save the world, right? The earth. Yeah. And if you can build it in, then you're like, oh, this is fine, right? I've already built in, whether it's 6 months, people have different risk tolerances too. So for one person, it could be, I don't care, I want 3 months and I want to go to Africa for a safari. Some people it's 6 months, maybe it's 12 months. If you're building your business, maybe you're like, I actually want to have 24 months, 18 months. It doesn't matter, because it's an individualized need and requirement, but it's taking the time to actually be like, what feels good to me and what does that number equal? So that then you're pointing yourself to savings, or you look at your assets and are like, oh, look, I already have it all here. But until you take a look at it, you'd be aiming at the stars, right? You're like, it must be $5 million. You're like, but why is it $5 million?
Right.
I don't know, right? You're assuming that that's going to make you feel safe. I realized when I had $100,000 in my bank account, it could have been $1 million. I probably would have felt the same. It wasn't going to be enough. So that's one thing. The other thing is the idea that the number itself, the amount of money, is what's going to make you feel safe. Because like I just said, it could have been $1 million. And I probably, because I didn't have the clarity, I didn't have the framework, I didn't know what I was pointing myself towards, it meant nothing. It was just a bigger number. Then I think the biggest one, and I think you've had other guests, your dating coach talked about it's hard to find somebody if your requirements are too broad. I listened to the episode with the intuitive, the Akashic
Yes.
Records. I can't remember his name. Your
Adam.
fellow
Yeah, he was great.
FBI.
Yeah. Yes. Another
So
one of them.
he said it similarly, right? Like, it's taking the time to figure it out what it is you actually want, like for you, for yourself. And this applies in every area of your life, but even in your financial relationship, right? Okay, let's imagine I'm not in this career, I'm not in this job. What is it that I actually want? Is there a money number that you're like, I've always wanted to make this much money just because it makes me feel excited and good? But usually it's taking the time to be like, this is what I want my life to look like. This is what I would love my days to be like. This is what I would like to feel in my body, like how I would like to feel when I wake up in the morning, when I go to bed, right? Because a lot of us are living in this like routine, unconscious, every day is the same or pretty close. And it's so easy to be like, I need to make more money. I'm going to go do this thing. It's going to be better because it's a different environment. But you're basically taking the same container and just transplanting it. So if you don't take the time to kind of reorient yourself to what you want, you likely will recreate, because I've done this many times, you will recreate the same thing in a different job, doing something different, like in a whatever it is. If you don't take the time to be like, this is the most important thing for me, I want to be able to not start work until 10 a.m. and I'm done at 3, and I take every Friday off, and I only see clients, let's say if you're doing something that is like consulting or something like that, 3 weeks out of the month, right? Or some people it's like have kids, or they have a business where it's kind of quiet in the summertime. You want to take the entire summer off and it doesn't matter, right? Because you've built that, you know you want to build that into the rest of the year. Or you're a huge skier and you want to take all of December and January off. Or you're a huge traveler and you want to be able to travel to some wild and crazy, amazing place every quarter, twice a year, whatever it is, whatever is important to you, right? Like that's the piece. Because if you aren't living you want to live an aligned life, you want whatever it is that is your work or your business or whatever, funding that life, because otherwise we get stuck in the I live to work instead of I work to live. And a lot of us, we want to do work that fills a purpose, fills a passion, but still you want to be living in a place where you're enjoying yourself, because the ripple effects of that go way past you. If you're having a great time living your life, you're doing things, because then you're going to be generous. You're going to be able to, I don't know, like spread whatever magical thing that you have to spread, like this podcast, right? Like how, if you didn't give yourself space to do it, well, who would have done it, right? This is a great idea. I love the concept of this podcast.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
So
so
I
I
think
guess
it's like being clear on what you actually want is like a thing that a lot of us don't think about, especially around paycheck, career, finances. It's like almost like a goal unto itself, the money piece, where really it's still your life is the goal. And how do you fund that in an aligned way?
yeah. Well, and I was gonna ask you about, like, how you would translate this also to dating, but I think this also is very translatable to relationships.
Yeah.
And the more that I've done podcast episodes here, the more that I've seen the complexity and the, like, breadth and depth of what people bring to the podcast conversation in
Yeah.
these instances. And so someone probably trying to figure out how do they get out of their current existing life, say they're in an unhappy marriage or they're in an unhappy relationship, they can follow the same advice that you're giving right now.
Hmm.
They still need to look for what in of themselves they're looking for, like what their goals are going to be,
Yeah.
and have to do a lot of self-reflection to figure that out so that they don't just jump. And then now they're now
And
wandering and they have no idea
yeah.
what their goals are, and they may also obviously not have made the financial determinations of, like, what do I need to do to escape this or leave this relationship.
Yeah. And I think sometimes people can get stuck on this idea of like, I must visualize, it must be specific, because there's some of us who are specific manifestors, which means like you visualize very like details. It lights you up to imagine the very specific things that are going to come up. Other people are non-specific manifestors, which means if you're trying to like think of the details or like imagine your dream partner or whatever, it will stress you out, right? And you want to lean into more the feeling of how you want it to be. So like it doesn't even how you're imagining this future, what you actually want, is to allow it to come in the natural way it comes in for you. It doesn't have to be like, they're 6'2", brown hair, this, that, right? Like it might be like, I want to be laughing. I want to feel comfortable in my own body. I see us off on adventures and having a good time, right? Like it doesn't have to be down to the details, right? For some people, the details, like totally, that will totally light them up and they're like, yeah, let's go. But it can be the feeling. It doesn't have to be the specifics. And that's like money, your career. Sometimes like for me, when you're dreaming into the money piece, yes, maybe it's like I bought my parents a house. I bought a house at the beach. I'm seeing myself flying all over the world, but it can also be like, uh, I'm able to like something really lights me up and I'm able to donate money here, right? Or like the money is there for me to, like it feels expansive, right? It doesn't have to be like there's this much money in my bank account, because that might not resonate or like make you feel anything.
That makes a lot of sense in terms of the dollar amount or even just the feeling that it's there because like you said multiple times here, people that may not even be able to visualize what dollar amount they need, but
Mhm.
it's really more of that mental preparedness that they need to feel ready to go
Yeah.
and prepare themselves that way, in addition to having some level of cushion.
Yes. Well, and that's the nice thing about kind of how I work is like we delve into the feelings, we delve into the dream, and then the Profit for Keeps framework is a tool that kind of starts to build yourself like your trust in yourself, your trust in the money because you're like having daily interactions with your bank account, with the money going where you want it to go. You're building a trust level with yourself if you ever felt like I don't trust myself with money, right? Like it comes in, I spend it on who knows what, it's gone. I still am living paycheck to paycheck when I'm making great money, or at least it feels that way, right? Like
Right.
that kind of, it's just a tool to start to like convince ourselves, like, hey, we got this. We got this. And it's kind of like setting a little bit of a boundary. Same with dating, right? Like, but if you're trying to set a dating, whether it's around money or dating, right? Like you have to know what you want first. Otherwise you're like, well, I don't know. I'm just setting some rules that maybe don't actually come back to what I actually want. It's just somebody told me that I should set a boundary like this. And then it's harder to bring yourself back or stop yourself from crossing that boundary because it doesn't tie back to something that is true to you.
Yeah, and, I'm gonna have post a podcast on Monday. It's a really fascinating author who wrote a book about it's almost like an autobiography, but he
Uh-huh.
talks about, sometimes the relationships you choose are the worst thing for you,
Hmm.
and sometimes the things that maybe you know, the universe puts in your way are the best things for you, and you just have to look for those opportunities.
Yeah.
So I was gonna ask you in terms of, maybe the last question before we wrap up.
Hmm.
What is the one piece of advice that you wish that you had before your own leap out of corporate that you now share with every client?
There's a couple things. And I think I always come back to now the just spend some time figuring out what you want, which can be very difficult and takes some time and practice. And maybe that's the thing is like just have some empathy and compassion for yourself because we have built these neural pathways of this behavior. You know, for me, it was like 40 years of my life. I have built this rut in my brain that and my body that this is the way I relate to money. So just giving yourself time and space to just start building the little parallel track. And you're going to like bump back into the rut. You have to like pull yourself back out and be like, no, 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 we're not doing this anymore. Right? But like, we just have to be compassionate with ourselves. And like, for me, it's funny. Like, I catch myself going back to an old thing and I'm like, you are, we are like the weirdest creatures, we humans, right? We're always like, why is this still here? I thought I worked on this. And you're like, aha,
Mm.
let me work on it some more. Like, I think it goes back. You actually said this, I think, of like everything in life is an experiment, right? Like, there is no failure. Maybe you have failed at this before, but now you have more data. Now you've like tried this again. So it's the same with this or anything. It's like, we're just learning. If you don't fail, you're not going to actually learn. I think in our culture, and I don't know how it was for you in your career, but everybody talked about how you learn from failure, but you better not fail, right? You better be succeeding in all the time. And so it was kind of like, when we're kids and you're doing a science project, it's like not being able to prove your hypothesis is just as important as being able to prove your hypothesis. So not getting so mad at yourself or beating yourself up that, oh, it's I have to do this again. I have to learn this again. I have to try it again. Well, yeah, like we're humans. It's all iterative. It doesn't have to be like, like me and my silver bullet search. Like it doesn't exist. It doesn't exist, much to my dismay. But um but yeah, like just being compassionate and curious, like, oh, I wonder why this didn't work. Maybe it's this framework or this coach or this therapist or this job is not for me. It might be for somebody else, and that's okay. So let's learn what part of this worked, what part of this didn't work. And let's try again. And I think that like being curious about what can you learn, because I was really hard on myself before I left. I was like, what is going on? How is it that I don't even know what I want to do next? How come I still feel like I'm terrible with money? Like, what is going on? I am a smart lady. Like, what is going on? Me and spreadsheets, we're like this, right? Like, why is this so hard? So it's like just changing that perspective of like, you wouldn't be mad at a kid for falling down 50,000 times as they're trying to learn to walk. Why are we expecting ourselves to be experts at something that we maybe have never done or never explored? So that's kind of the biggest learning for me, because I used to live in frustration with myself. And now I'm like, oh, wow, it's back. I wonder why, right? Like, what brought it back? What can I learn here that I maybe didn't learn before? Or I've cleared enough off of this so that now I can learn the deeper lesson.
I was not an engineer. I started in engineering though, so I
Mhm.
do have a big respect for iterative design and implementation, but also with the military, the
Oh,
combat mission planning stuff, we
yeah.
always went back and said, what could we do better?
Yeah.
And so people hopefully listening to this can adopt that methodology if they haven't, that there's always something better. Even if you are near flawless, there's always something better that you can do.
Mhm.
And if you take that approach, then you're not being critical of yourself. You're being iterative. You're being self introspective, and
Mhm.
it changes your mindset because you're like, I know that we now have to do some constructive criticism. What can we do better?
Yeah.
And that can really change the mindset on that.
Mhm.
But this was a really great, thoughtful conversation. Could you tell people where they could find you? And if you want to talk about your podcast a little bit, you're welcome to do that too.
Yes. So I have a website. It's victoria-steward.com. You can find me on Instagram and on LinkedIn. And then my podcast, I've published 10 episodes so far. I'm very excited. It's called The Scenic Route with Victoria Steward, because I feel like that's where I am right now. I'm like enjoying the like journey of like, yes, coaching now, but who knows where I'll end up like in 5 years. And it's kind of fun not to be quite so like, 'cause in engineering, you're so goal oriented. And it's like,
Mhm.
I stopped remembering, like, you would get to your goal. You wouldn't even take the time to enjoy yourself or celebrate. You'd be on to the next one. And it's like, no, that you need to enjoy the journey, right? Like the journey. So, and I think most of us don't have a straight line path in our lives, but somehow we think that that's what you're supposed to do, is like you start here, you go there, and really most of us are like, "Wee." Maybe you end up where you thought you were going, but more than likely not. I want to share as many stories as possible of people kind of taking the exit off of the super highway of your career, of what you thought your life was going to look like, and how you ended up somewhere even better than you thought. Like you could have never imagined, because you were so dead set on this is what I'm doing. So that's the podcast. Come listen. I'm always looking for guests too, because nothing is lighting me up more than like doing the podcast. I'm like asking everybody, come be on my podcast. This is so fun.
Awesome. Well, Victoria, thanks a lot. I learned a lot from listening to you, and I'm sure people will as well. So thanks a lot for joining me.
And thank you for having me.
So if you're done with endless swiping and ready for something real, don't miss a single episode. Hit that subscribe button right now on your favorite podcast app and never miss the bold conversations that could change your dating life forever. Every week, we bring you incredible singles, excellent advice, raw stories, and real opportunities to connect, all for free. Subscribe today, apply at donewithdating.co, and turn your next listen into your next date. Your perfect match is waiting on the other side of the mic. It doesn't matter where you live. Someone local is listening and will want to date you. We'll see you in the next episode. Subscribe now.